Hi, my name is Paul Walsh, and I'm the founder and CEO of a security company called MetaCert. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about a new blockchain project that we just kicked off. But first, just let me give you a little bit of background about the company and the team, because that gives insight as to why we're passionate about what we're doing. So, first of all, we have a number of security products. One iPad browser and Chrome extension helps to protect kids from pornography. So that's used by quite a few schools and families. And we also have a browser add on for news reputation. So it annotates the web and tells you which articles, social media accounts, and websites are far left, far right, satirical, fake news, or alt right. And then more recently in 2017, we got heavily involved in the crypto world when a number of the big communities came to us and said, hey, phishing is a big problem for us. Can you help address this? And while we already had a lot of big customers protected by our software inside Slack, customers like IBM, Sage, SAP, NTT Security, and a bunch of others, what really interested us is that we never really got to see the level of protection we were providing those companies. But once we started to be installed inside Slack communities within the crypto world, we could see firsthand that individuals were losing their money to phishing scams. And as soon as MetaCert was installed, it was like turning off a tap. Phishing went from a couple of hundred a day to one or two every few days, according to some of the crypto companies that actually install the app. Some of the customers that still use our security app for Slack include BigChainDB, Ocean Protocol, Mercury Protocol, COS, and a bunch of others. But the one thing that they all have in common, and one of the other products that we have is called Kryptonite, and that's a browser add-on that blocks more phishing websites and fake Twitter accounts than any other software. But it also does one thing that we think is very beneficial and more important than blocking phishing sites. Whenever you visit a crypto exchange or wallet, or in some cases, cryptocurrency websites that have been working with MetaCert, when you land on one of their websites or the social media account, the shield on the toolbar goes from black to green. And the reason we do that is because 99.9999% of consumers don't know the difference between a basic SSL certificate and what's called an extended validation certificate. That basically means that instead of just getting a green padlock, the name of the company is also green. Nobody knows the difference. Most technical people don't know the difference between the two. As soon as they see the green padlock, they think, oh, this is safe, so it's okay to give them my wallet address. And then they're phished. And that's how the majority of phishing websites operate. They use something like Let's Encrypt to get a free automated certificate to give people the wrong impression that it's a safe website. It's not safe necessarily. It just means it's encrypted. So we thought, why not put a shield on the toolbar and then make it go green when you land on a website? Now, the one thing that all of those products have, and there's a few other products that we actually have, but the one thing that they all have in common is what's called a cyber threat intelligence system. And that's a kind of a fancy buzz term given by cybersecurity companies. In plain English, that just means it's a big database of categorized URIs. And I say URI instead of URL because a URL is a link that goes to a web page. A URI could be a link such as a URL, but it could also be a link to a bot or an application or an API or something else that isn't necessarily a web page. So that's why I use the term URIs. And so a threat intelligence system is basically a big database with all of these classified URIs, and they'll typically have 65, 70 categories, such as to tell you whether a website is sports, religion, entertainment, movies. But then the security ones include the likes of brand protection, meaning it's been verified by a certificate authority. It's classified as pornography, malware, phishing. A new kind of malware that a lot of people in the crypto world are now familiar with is called crypto mining, where it's a website with some JavaScript that hijacks your CPU for the purpose of mining Monero. So that's a new kind of malware within the cyber world. So that's a big database. And MetaCert just happens to have the most advanced threat intelligence system in the world and the biggest database in the world. In fact, the categories for security actually are bigger than our three biggest competitors combined. And it's that system, it's that core data set that we are moving to the blockchain and opening it up. Because we'd like to actually democratize. We want to decentralize. We want to take MetaCert, Symantec, Komodo, and other cybersecurity companies out of the trust equation. Before now, it just wasn't possible. I joined AOL back in the 90s, and I was part of the new technologies team that helped to launch technologies and protocols such as AOL Instant Messenger, X2, the 56K modem protocol, internet radio, online games, and a bunch of other technologies back in the mid-90s. And then you've also got the W3C, which is the standards body for the World Wide Web. And in that context, I've contributed to about 9 technical specs across 4 initiatives, and I've helped to co-found 2 initiatives. I was one of the original founders of the Mobile Web Initiative back before the iPhone came out, so I was an early advocate of mobile web. But more importantly, for the purpose of this project, I'm one of the 2 people who co-instigated the creation of the W3C standard for URL categorization. And that started around 2004-2005. The other person who helped to co-instigate it with me, Phil Archer, is actually one of our advisors. And so I've been around the web for a long time. I built my first website in 1996 so I could show the trainer who could then teach the technicians who could then explain how to build a website over the phone during the early days of AOL. And during all of that time, and also, by the way, it's notable to mention that our COO, Ian Hayward, was one of the first coin-carrying 25 contributors to Mozilla Foundation. And he is the guy that funded, built, and maintained spreadfirefox.com, which was the open source community for Firefox. So he did a good job in helping to kind of build and engage in the community to help Firefox get more adoption. So as a team, we've been around the web for quite a long time. And the point of that, and the point of telling you all of that, aside from just demonstrating that we've got some expertise and experience in this field, is to say that crowdsourcing trust and reputation just never worked. And it never really worked because there was never an incentive or the ability to prevent bad actors from spoiling the data. I mean, there's a couple of open source lists specifically for phishing, and they're really good lists, but they're not anywhere near as good as what they could be, because it's easy to submit a website and pretend it's phishing when it's not, or vice versa. And so there's never been really any incentive for people to do a good job, and it's never been really easy to prevent people from spoiling the data. But what the Ethereum blockchain and to use another kind of buzz term, tokenized registry. So that big database, we're going to start talking about it as a registry, because it really is a registry. With the Ethereum blockchain and the ability to build tokens, it means that there's now an incentive, a reward system to incentivize and reward people for contributing to the registry, while at the same time mitigating the risk of people spoiling the data. And that's particularly useful for a few reasons. First of all, whenever you have a tokenized registry, you have to put in a small stake so that you're putting some skin in the game. So that if somebody else at the end of the consensus decides, okay, this submission is not right, then you lose your token. But the other reason why people would want to contribute in a significant way and a quality-driven way to the registry is this. If you're particularly passionate about classifying the web, then that's going to motivate you, and you'll submit websites across all categories. If you're passionate about sports or religion or entertainment, you may want to go through the website and pick out those websites and categorize those because you're passionate about those categories. If you care about security and you care about anti-phishing, you'll help us detect or validate links that are phishing or fake Twitter accounts or verify websites or social media accounts. You may want to submit or validate pornography because you're particularly passionate about parental controls. Whatever the incentive, if we take, for example, all of our kryptonite users, if you use kryptonite, doesn't it make sense for you to either submit or validate links that make that software better and then get paid for it in token? You're getting paid for it, but then also you're getting the software updated and improved based on your own participation. So until now, that really wasn't possible. And that's why we're very excited to partner with Consensus, who is an expert in helping to build Ethereum-based protocols and applications. And so we're working with them on the token economics, the dynamics, the reputation system. You know, we've got over 10 years of expertise and experience categorizing URIs. So combining those two brains, the expertise of blockchain and token economics with the categorization of the web, that puts together a really good team to help start. And I'll say start because even though it's the biggest database in the world that I described earlier, actually it's just the start. When we open that up on the blockchain, we envisage all kinds of things happening. And if you go back to the products that I talked about, whether it's kryptonite or the news reputation or the triple X blocking for young kids, MetaCert in that regard is actually just one customer of the protocol, of that registry. They're just use cases of that protocol and that registry. We would like to see developers actually build competitive, better applications, because the one thing we're more concerned about and more passionate about is actually opening up that entire system so that everybody can innovate on top of that system. And so we'd like to see people build better products on top of that. And, you know, to give you an example of an application that MetaCert isn't interested in building itself is something for the ad industry. Imagine advertisers, brands, and platforms who use this registry to, first of all, avoid placing ads on fake news and undesirable content, while at the same time targeting very specific category websites in a way that just wasn't possible before now. So that's one application, and I'm sure there's plenty of other applications that people will come up with. We would love to see developers getting involved. We're going to give a bunch of tokens out for developers that truly want to participate in the network. Obviously, people will be able to gain access to that. If you're an early adopter, an early participant in the network, then obviously we will want to hear from you to help kind of walk you through what we think, and learn from you and hear about what applications you want to build on top of the registry. But for now, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has either already participated by way of submitting or validating links, because people have been doing that every single day, not just inside the crypto communities in Slack, but we've actually got some experts from some of the biggest security companies in the world contribute to our anti-phishing database every day of the week. So it makes sense to be able to reward them for their good behavior, for their hard work. And also it would be great to entice people from other open source lists to our registry so that we can, get that good behavior, reward people for their hard work because they don't get rewarded on other networks. But also at some point, when it's possible, we want to have a decentralized governance. Now, I'm not sure if that's possible to get right on day one, but with our background on, open source and open web standards across mobile and internet, I think we've got a good team to at least start the process to get a good governance. And that could be one governance for the entire registry, or it could be a governance body for the registry with kind of subcommittees where you might have a committee for news reputation, a committee for internet child safety, a committee for the verification of domain ownership and bots to help with brand protection. We'll let the community decide. What we'll do is we'll come out with a white paper in a few weeks. It's probably going to be around mid-March to late March before we have a good white paper to publish publicly. But we would like to see the community come up with ideas with what kind of governance we should create, because it's not just about decentralizing and democratizing trust and reputation for the web. It's about just removing completely the barriers to society. To contribute to our registry, your registry, actually all you need is a very basic computer or smartphone, because it will either be through a simple application or a website or both, where anybody in the world will be able to look at a social media account or a domain name or a link to a bot or an application and submit or validate information about those resources. Has it been verified? The ownership been verified? Should I trust them? What kind of content is there? Is it free? Is it paid for? So underserved communities in developed countries and people in developing countries should be able to access our registry and contribute and get rewarded in tokens. Maybe there's going to be an opportunity for us to give some equipment to some of these communities. I'm not sure what that looks like, but we're passionate about making sure that the web is as accessible as possible to everybody, no matter where they're located, what device they have, or what disability they have, which is pretty much the fundamental of the W3C and Tim Berners-Lee's vision of the web. So I think that's about it. What I would like to do is please invite you to come participate in our project, submit ideas, get involved, join our Telegram group. It is t.me/MetaCert. I was a massive proponent of Slack for crypto communities. I was dragged into Telegram, kicking and screaming from people around me, and now I seem to be getting addicted to that channel. You can also go to next.metacert.com to learn more about the project and how to get involved. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you soon.